The show starts with a fight of 4 players against 1,200 players, including the strongest named Queen. Queen is defeated and we're introduced to Sora, a game addict with a communication disorder, and his younger sister Shiro. Their team is known as Blank. After the brief introduction, an email is received by Sora, and there's a challenge attached for a chess match. Shiro has a perfect memory of all possible combinations in the game and ends up beating the other person. That person sends a message asking them what they think about the world. Sora states that the world is nothing but a bad game with no defined rules and boundaries. The unknown person sends a message asking if they'd like to participate in a world that is more like the games they're so fond of. No sooner than they agree, the siblings are transported to the world of games where everything hinges on simple games controlled by the 10 Commandments. Tet, the god of the world, is the one who put the 10 Commandments in play for all the 16 races of this world. Sora and Shiro move forward to the capital of the kingdom of Elkia, which is in the process of electing a new king through a gambling tournament. A woman introduces Stephanie Dola, the granddaughter of the previous king, who seems to be losing against a girl named Clammy. Sora challenges the woman and wagers his life on a game of poker. The woman cheats to get a full house, yet Sora wins with a royal straight flush. He does so by cheating as well, but very discreetly. He then goes on to rent a room, after which the siblings notice Clammy cheating. Sora informs Stephanie quietly of this, and the siblings head to their room. A defeated Stephanie shows up, blaming Sora for her defeat as he'd never told her how Clammy cheated. Sora instead riles her up enough for her to try to slap him. He then proposes that they start a game of rock, paper, and scissors to resolve their differences. Sora says he'll only play paper, and the terms of the game are that he will do anything that Stephanie wants if she wins. But if he wins, she'll do anything he says. If the game is a draw, he'll give her a hint as to how the girl cheated, and Stephanie would have to do a small favor for him. The game begins and Stephanie tries to outsmart Sora, but it ends up in a draw and hence owes them a small favor. The favor Sora asks is for her to fall in love with him. Guess his inner virgin couldn't miss the opportunity. Just then, Sora gets thrown out of the room, away from Shiro, and both of them immediately degenerate into simpletons. Something noted by Stephanie as a symptom of the siblings being out of each other's sight. After a trip to the palace, Stephanie reveals that the human race is called Humanity, while the other races are called Exceed. They are ranked by their affinity for magic, with humans ranked at 16th with 0 affinity. Stephanie reveals that it's also the reason why she couldn't beat Clammy, as she couldn't see the magic. Sora then heads to a library where Shiro proceeds to learn the entire language in a heartbeat. Realizing that Shiro has genius-level intellect and Sora has great negotiation skills, Stephanie starts believing that they might be able to save Elkia. Stephanie says she wanted to be queen to prove that her grandfather was right about humanity's true potential. Later, the trio meets Clammy before the coronation, and Sora states his intentions to become the next king. He crashes the coronation and objects that a con artist conspiring with the elves isn't viable for the throne. His objection is met with a challenge by Clammy to play poker. Sora agrees but states that it will be without the help of Clammy's elf friends. Clammy denies her allegiance and states that she'll play another game without the elf. Later, Clammy tells the trio in private that she allied with the Elven Guard to ensure that humanity survives under the protection of that race. Sora refuses to back down, so Clammy leads them to a cathedral. The next game is chess, but where the pieces have their own will. Shiro begins the game, but only after Sora states that they will be allowed to rotate between games. After the first move, it's clear that the pieces move according to the will of the player's leadership potential, meaning that the pieces can move further than their conventionally allotted moves. This leaves to Shiro at a severe disadvantage, but Sora steps in and his speech leads to an extreme boost in their morale. Even with Clammy using elf magic, Sora's strategy causes the tables to turn. Before Clammy proceeds to use brainwashing magic to turn Sora's pieces into her own, Sora uses his dating simulator skills and converts the enemy queen to his own. After Clammy's defeat, the coronation commences, but there can't be 2 kings. The siblings refuse to be kings alone, and so a battle between the two starts. After 500 rounds of a card game later, they realized that there was nothing in the commandments stating there could only be one representative, so they both end up being the kings. Sora then gives a rousing speech highlighting the weaknesses and strengths of humanity, during which the duo receives the race piece, identifying them as the sole representative of their race. They end the speech with a call to arms, declaring war against every country in the world. The declaration of war caused Stephanie to lose her mind due to fear of a foreign attack, but Blank had everything thought out and assured her that the foreign nations would be more suspicious of each other, trying to determine which nation was backing humanity and hence removing the chance for an attack. Later, the duo is reading a book about Flubel, inhabitants of Phantasma and Avanheim. The book states that the Flubel have a thirst for knowledge. Sora considers whether they could be won over using the knowledge from his previous world. Just then, Tet shows up. He asks them what they think of this world. Sora finds it ideal and asks whether simple games could win the position of a god. Tet replies that to challenge God to a game, a person would have to defeat the rest of the races. So the next goal for Blank is to conquer the world. Sora, Shiro, and Stephanie later go for an outing, and we see the new kings interact with the community while Stephanie wears a dog cosplay costume because of losing the previous game. We then get some lore from Sora about the werbeasts. Just then, Avenheim comes up in the sky and Stephanie reveals that previously they lost their library to them. But the duo moves forward with the intent to challenge the Flugel. Gibril, one of the Flugels, is challenged by Blank, who gives a brief history of her race. Sora wagers thousands of books stored in his tablet from Earth. After confirming there are other worlders, she agrees to accept the game. The game is a materialization word chain. The rules are that the players can't use a word that has been used. They must answer in 30 seconds, and if they can't continue, they'll lose. Anything stated in the game that isn't in the room will appear in the room, and anything that is will disappear. The game starts and Sora says hydrogen bomb and it appears. After a few rounds, Gibril states that she's merely humoring the two out of curiosity and can end the game any time. The challenge reveals Sora's grin and he states lithosphere, the surface of a planet. With spirit circuits removed, Gibril starts free-falling into the sun. After oxygen is removed, the duo kiss for breathing and remove the atmosphere. Gibril finds a way around the soundless world and counters by using magic to state the next word through a page. Sora counters by using the Cologne Force. Gibril realizes that this was his plan from the first move. The extreme level of foresight leads to Blank's victory. Sora states that he'll let Gibril use the library and read the books on his tablet. Gibril responds by turning him into the Flugel's new master. Gibril is then seen giving information about how once challenged the werbeasts and lost. It seems that information about the game was removed as part of the game's wagers, so the duo can't strategize prior. The team starts gathering more information. It's revealed that Elkia has lost 8 times, and with it, half of their territory under the prior king. Sora rants about the foolish king, causing Stephanie to start crying and running out. Stephanie is then seen reminiscing about her memories with her grandfather while holding a key meant to be given to potential saviors of humanity. Gibril shows up and asks Stephanie to come back to the library. She goes and overhears Sora talking to Gibril about why the king challenged the werbeasts 8 times. Sora still believes in the potential of humanity due to Shiro and the numerous accomplishments of humanity. Due to this, Stephanie gives Sora the key of his grandfather. Sora opens up a secret room containing the diary of the late king. Sora deciphers the book and realizes that all the challenges were meant to gather information. The team heads over to the Eastern Federation's embassy to see Izuna. As the team is guided into the building by Ino to where Izuna resides, she's revealed as the granddaughter of the mind-reading Ino, an ability rumored to be possessed by the werbeasts. Sora states that he wants to challenge the beasts, wagering Izuna's panties with Stephanie's on the line. Of course, that was but a test to see whether the beasts could truly read minds. If they could, they'd know that the real wager is the chance to wipe his memories of how all their games work. The duo then reveals to the council that they figured out that the nation had developed a video game by deciphering the clues in the king's diary. Sora challenges the beasts and wagers all of humanity and his race piece. A loss of a race piece means being denied all commandments and making the race equal to animals. The entire country expresses their dissatisfaction, but the game will continue. Sora talks to Shiro about their promise and that they are one before disappearing from the world. Shiro narrates her history, a super intelligent girl in an orphanage, before meeting Sora's family. Shiro wakes up with Sora partially disappearing from her memories. Shiro runs to the room where Sora should be, but he's nowhere to be found. Shiro's loneliness overcomes her as she's forced to believe that her memories of Sora are false. But blank is what she can't forget. She says aloud that blank never loses, and the gray shifts to the world of color as Shiro affirms that Sora does exist. Shiro starts talking about what Sora said before disappearing and realizes that the game may have wagered stealing each other's existence. The scene shifts to an interaction between Sora and Clammy wagering their existences in a game and complete rights over their partners. The interaction is something Shiro is seeing in a dream. Shiro realizes that the game may still be underway and discovers game stones on the floor. Shiro realizes she's participating in a game, and we see Sora telling Clammy that their partners will play if the other can't anymore. Even though Shiro can't see the board, she can tell what Sora would want her to do. Sora forgoes his existence so Shiro can take his place, and Shiro picks up where he left off. Making all calculations, she plays the stones one after another, winning the game and bringing Sora back to the real world. As a result, Sora gains Clammy's memories and alters the elf's memories to make her his spy. Establishing that Sora isn't colluding with any of the other nations, Clammy grants him her trust as well. It's revealed that Clammy is Feel's slave. Of course, Feel doesn't like the fact that she has to treat Clammy as a slave because she believes Clammy is her friend. The next day, the king heads off to Izuna's house where he puts a spell on Stephanie. The game begins with the kingdom of Elkia, represented by Sora, Shiro, Stephanie, and Gibril, against the Federation, represented by Izuna. The premise of the game is a fictional place based in Tokyo. The players are given love guns to shoot women after them. who disappear while giving the players love power, which is their ammo. However, if Azuna shoots one of the protagonists, they become her love slave. Shiro starts pressuring Azuna, who runs away and jumps off a building, but Sora is stationed as a sniper with Jibril in pursuit. Azuna counters and brings the team on the defensive, and she seems to be having a lot of fun. Meanwhile, Shiro asks Sora if he trusts her and proceeds to take a shot from Azuna, becoming her slave and now standing against Sora. Jibril flies Sora to safety and heads off to buy time for Sora to calculate a way to win. Sora heads to the roof of a building and lets himself get cornered by Shiro. He tackles Shiro and free falls off the building. Azuna attacks, but it's revealed that since the start, Shiro was never under Azuna's control. Shiro shoots Azuna, but she transforms to dodge the bullet. Sora charges towards Azuna and dodges the first 2 bullets. His predictions go wrong, and we see both siblings get hit. Azuna starts calming down, but she gets hit in the back by Stephanie. Everything is revealed to have been carefully calculated from the start when Sora placed the spell on Stephanie. With that, the winner is the kingdom of Elkia. The beast's loss leads Azuna to a sense of guilt, but the duo comforts her. Stephanie then tells Sora that the Eastern Federation moved their technology off the continent before the game, and Sora states that he already knew. Then he states that the game isn't over while referring to the designated representative of the Eastern Federation, the Shrine Priestess. The priestess welcomes the heroes and states that it was all within her calculations that the Elven Guard would get involved, but what she didn't expect was the involvement of Avenheim. The priestess then challenges Sora to a game, who chooses a simple coin toss. If Sora wins, Elkia gets all of the Eastern Federation's territory, whereas if the priestess wins, the beasts get the right half to self-rule. The priestess determines that Tails will be the winning bet. The coin falls and gets stuck upright in the ground, resulting in a draw. Sora made the result by shifting the plate to the right. He states that the result is either they both win or they both lose. A double win means that both continents would share resources, while the beasts stay self-ruled under what would now be known as the Elkia Federation. The priestess states that even if the nations unite, the Elven Guard would still wage war against the beasts. Sora, of course, intends to defeat them when they do. In hindsight, Sora altered Feel's memory, so she reports the wrong information about the game, already preparing to get the Elven nation under his command. The priestess asks what the siblings intend to do now. From the start, they aim to beat the one true god, after which the priestess summons the old dudes, ranking first among the Exceed. Face to face with one of the strongest, we already know what Blank has in mind: a challenge to a game. That's it for today. Like this video and subscribe to the channel for more.